Curriculum Committee. It is 3:45 p.m. on, let's see, what are the dates? 6/2 of 2026. And we will start with introductions. My name is Melanie Ergott, school board member.
June Kruger, school board member.
Kelly Lang, school board member.
Kelly Downs, Director of Curriculum and Instruction.
Tina Van Roo, District Data and Assessment Coordinator.
Erin Faust, curriculum coordinator.
All right, our first discussion item today is to appoint the committee chair. And Kelly will lead that one.
So this is our first meeting after your reorganization of the board, although there wasn't much change, or any change at all for that matter. So now what we need to do is to determine who would like to be the president, or I'm sorry, the chairman of this little committee. So Melanie, you've graciously done this now for 2 years. Am I correct, or has it been longer? 4 years. Okay, wow, 4 years. So I'm wondering if you want to continue. It's a group decision. I don't know if somebody else would want to step up.
I'm willing to continue if nobody else wants to.
Go for it.
All right, good. All right. Yes, I'm happy to continue.
Awesome. Well, I guess we'll go forward then. Thank you for being willing to do that.
Okay, the next item is the 2026-2027 Curriculum Committee meeting calendar.
So as you take a look at the agenda item here, we have the recommended calendar. We've also sent that to you. We are now, again, setting the calendar for the year since we've reorganized for this year. We can do whatever you like as far as dates and times. These are the proposed dates on Tuesdays. We would continue with 4:30 because it seemed like once we talked to people, that would be the most convenient for everybody. So we can continue at 4:30 if that's what you would like to do. At this point in time, I'm wondering if you have any conflicts with these dates. That it is organized so that we can have that curriculum committee meeting so that we can feed things to the school board as we usually do.
I don't really have any conflicts. I have one's the birthday day for one of my kids, but the meeting's usually done early, so I can.
Good.
She can be fine and wait.
I looked at the dates as well, and I don't see any conflicts. I do just want to point out that November 3rd is election day, and it won't impact me. I can plan ahead, but I wanted to make
Thank you.
guys aware of that. But 4:30 would be a good starting time as well. I did have a hard time getting here at 4.
Yeah, I understand.
I'm good with dates and time.
Okay. So being mindful of that November 3rd date, is that going to be problematic, do you think, with it being election day? Do we need to shift it? Okay. Okay. Okay, thank you for doing that. All right, we will go ahead with this calendar then. I do want to point out that we do not have a curriculum meeting in December, nor do we have one in January. With the way that the teams fell, we just wouldn't have much to bring. Our last PD day before that is in October. We will have done that work in November, so it just made sense to kind of stretch that out. All right, thank you. We'll go ahead with these dates then.
Okay, the next item on the agenda is the 3K through 5th grade curriculum. Thank-
So we have been working on organizing our curriculum this year. We have a new document for it, and if you go into the website, and I sent you the link for that today, if you go into the website, you're going to see that we have it organized by grade levels. And what we'd like you to do is to take a look at the documents in there and become familiar with the curriculum that we have it now in this form. You'll see essential understandings, you'll see learning goals, you'll see differentiation for all of it. So we'd like to get your input. So I've sent you this note-taking document that you see here. If you could, over the next month, look through it, keep track of your notes on this, and we'll come together in July then to kind of share your feedback and see if there's any adjustments we need to make or any comments that you have on the curriculum that we are putting forth. From there, we're proposing that it would go forward through the board in July. After this, we will also need to do the same thing for the 6th through 12th curriculum. So be thinking about that as you're perusing. Do you have any questions on this?
I do. Is there any kind of specific feedback you're looking for? Or, I mean, is it like on the layout of the website or on specific curriculum items or?
It can be on anything that really strikes you. From layout, like, I don't think this is gonna be family friendly, or any questions you think parents might have, or that it really works well for families, to content questions, like, is this something that we need to revisit as we're looking at our curriculum? So it can be in any of that realm.
Okay, thank you.
Any further questions? Okay, well, thank you for the work ahead of time on this. We really appreciate your input. We're excited to be able to have this organized and posted as we should. So,
Okay, thank you. Okay, then we will move on to the next item, which is 9th and 10th grade ELA curriculum cycle update. And it looks like, Kelly, are you going to stay up there for this one?
I'm gonna stay up here.
And Brett Hartman from the high school.
So this is Brett Hartman, and I just want to give a little bit of a shout out to him because he helped lead this team all year from the high school perspective. So he was one of our amazing facilitators that took us through all of the work that had been described to you at our last meeting with when Chrissy came and did all the steps of coming to this point of selecting a primary resource. And again, you've seen this goal before. We're ensuring that they have our curriculum resource to provide all students and teachers the opportunity to achieve at high levels. And just a quick refresher, I know you saw a lot of this data in March when we came. This is where we currently sit. We just showed you a quick snapshot again. The details are in that earlier presentation. But you can see 23 to 24 to 24, 25, 52.3 to 53.8. For English, for reading, we have 39.5 to 43.9. And when you take that in context, that 80% proficiency or higher is an indicator, let's take our standard industry indicator for a healthy universal program. And you can see we're not quite meeting that mark yet. So that was the impetus for where we're going, one of the many impetuses.
So for the process, everything on here minus the final 2 points, we worked with the 6-8 teachers as well. So everything from when we started way back, facilitators in August, but everybody else kind of in the September timeframe, to looking at all kinds of different resources to narrowing it down to the 2 that we went between, into literature and then my perspectives. And then after taking a couple of months to kind of close read through those items, see them in action at a couple of sites, the middle school decided a little bit ahead of us to go with my perspectives. And then from the high school, we felt we were at a slightly different place with what we currently have with our curriculum. And we wanted to make sure novels in particular was a big thing with some of the ones that we were using and compared to some of the options that my perspectives offered. So we had a little bit further discussion just to make sure that what we thought was important from us at the high school level could still be brought into what the new resource would entail. And we ended up obviously going through and reaching an agreement. We had 100% of people who were there to vote. 12 out of 12 of the department gave it a 3 or higher. So there's still a little nervousness, I think, about moving forward. But overall, I think now the department's at a pretty good spot and is excited to see how we can kind of move forward with the new stuff when we get it.
On that 3 and higher piece, that is referencing our process that we use to vote for consensus. So they have to indicate on a scale from 0 to 5 how strongly they feel about doing the proposal. The proposal was to move forward. So if you have everybody at 3, 4, or 5, that's considered consensus. If anybody was at 0, 1, or 2, we would stop, go back, have further discussion, just to make sure we have really thought about, you know, what is the opposition to this, and do we have clear understandings? And this team, as Brett said, 12 out of 12 were 3, 4, and 4, so we had consensus.
So after going through all of that, our final recommendation is going to follow what the middle school decided and also go with the My Perspectives option for a handful of reasons, which we'll kind of get to on another slide. But one of the biggest ones is just the consistency from 6-8 now up to 9-10, and that vertical alignment that we feel like we can put into place with it. We did have a couple of notes to go with it, in particular related to some of the novel options. So currently, grade 10 is more or less American Lit, but for the My Perspectives, their grade 11 textbook is Into Lit. So one text that we currently do with the grade 10 is The Crucible, and the option on the table here for number 1 is to use it as a supplement to using the Tempest for that unit, with the unit theme and the summative assessments that come with that resource, but then something that the teachers are already familiar with and have already kind of fine-tuned that they felt could do a good job. Plus, it is offered in My Perspectives, just at the higher grade level. So it would basically be coming down a little bit, and then any materials that the teachers may want to use of what they already have would be reviewed by Leslie Delane at the high school to make sure that it matches with the rigor and expectations of the actual resource itself. For option 2, kind of the similar situation, but this one down with grade 9, Lord of the Flies was recommended text for one of the units in My Perspectives, and instead going along with kind of the theme, I believe that one is just in general about like survival. We currently do at the grade 9 level a dystopian book club, and again, kind of same process, using some of those book options that we have already vetted, and we know that we'd still, with the book club, have to go through like the permission slip option to have parents have an awareness of what's being offered, but we would still use everything like summative assessment, lessons and everything for the bulk of the unit from the actual resource. And then when we get to the novel part, we would, instead of using the whole class novel, we feel like there's a lot of research out there that talks about the benefits of book club and giving kids more choice, and some of the discussions and stuff that, again, we could possibly tie in with what we've done that, again, would be reviewed by Leslie Delane to kind of marriage those two options together. And then finally, same thing with the third option of Mice and Men is listed as a grade 9 supplementary text, but because of the American Lit aspect for what grade 10 currently does and how they currently use it, that would be an option for them to bring that up and mesh it into an appropriate thematic unit with what they're going to be moving forward with. And then same thing, Leslie would vet everything that they have and make sure it meets the rigor and standards and everything.
On this note too, notice that we're saying option, option, option. We don't know yet what they will be using. That's going to come out as the teams learn about the resource, have their time to do unit planning, and make these decisions. They just wanted to make sure those options were on the table for them. So they may or may not do this depending on what they do as they work as a team through these units.
And then, yeah, here is our rationale. I believe the vast majority of it, again, kind of matches up with what the middle school teachers already explained when they went through their process with it. For a while, I know for me personally, between the two options, depending on the day, I was for Into Lit, and then the next day I was for My Perspectives. But I think overall, the writing instructions seem to be more consistent, like throughout building one unit after the other for My Perspectives, whereas Into Lit was almost seemed more, you can mix and match the units, but which is great, but because of that, some of it seemed a little choppier. So we thought that the writing instruction in particular would be a little more specific. It had the science of reading, aligned literacy. Like I said, it kind of goes along with not just what 6-8 is doing, but also with what K-5 is doing with the science of reading-based instruction. The summative assessments are going to be tied in specifically with what everything else is throughout the unit. Obviously, it's from the same resource, so all their like kind of classwork, formative assessments are all going to lead to that summative that we can then have the opportunity to use, obviously, but then reteach and allow students the opportunity to achieve more mastery. We've got the PD options during the implementation process, which I believe on one of the next slides, Kelly will go through what that'll look like. The support for all learners. We had on our team a few SPED teachers and ML teachers within here to review the resources, and they also gave their stamp of approval toward this one. And then just in general with how they arrived at all of their resources, or all of the resources within their units, it's backed with backward design framework, research-based. We'll be able to kind of give our own feedback throughout the implementation process and see if there's anything that they feel like either can be tweaked or that they have tips for us as we go along that we can hopefully obviously make it through year one as best as possible, but then feel pretty comfortable with it as we get into the further implementation steps.
So I want to reassure you, you've seen this before too. It is the same process that we use for middle school. Every single selection within the SAVAS has been reviewed, and we used it considering our thresholds and our guidelines for controversial issues. All of those things have been considered. And while we still have some books that we're working our way through, we have enough right now for them to even to begin the year that fall into the appropriate categories. If there's anything that does come up, we'll be bringing it to you, just like we always do. The difference, I think, when we shift is that some of these novels are going to be used for whole class. That's a little bit of a different animal, right? All students will be experiencing it. But remember, we always have that process where if parents have an issue, there is a way they can communicate to us, and we can, again, bring it forth for further discussion. So while we feel confident that we have covered this and we have selections that meet that, we just want to be sensitive to, like, we did our best with our judgment on it. That doesn't always mean that everybody has that same judgment, right? So we wanted to make sure there's an avenue for them to bring it forth if there were any concerns. But we did meet as a team, and we're in the process of finalizing those things with the novels. The novel usage is a little different than what we're doing right now currently, and you can speak to this better. Like, it's 4 to plus weeks on a novel,
Yes.
right? It can go very long. In this framework, the novels are either woven into the rest of the resource, or it extends like 2 weeks or 3 weeks. So it's supplementary to the skills that are being done in the resource, just so you know that. You saw this once before too, implementation, but we've come a little bit further now. So we've gotten feedback from the teachers. Today we sent out the draft for them to give feedback on some of these details. So this is what was sent out today. There's a lot of information in here, but we basically have some days in August. Again, what we did is we got information from the teachers, tried to find the day that most people found would work. We also got feedback around, do you want release days? Do you not want release days? It was overwhelming that was a choice. So we've tried to build this plan based around what SAVAS feels like they need to train us in, as well as around teacher preferences. So this went out to teachers today to get their feedback. And we also are very thankful that SAVAS has been wonderful and said, we are going to get your teacher editions into the hands of teachers right away. So even though the purchase won't happen till July, we are going to be able to get those textbooks and give them to teachers. That makes everybody breathe easier. So we were really happy about that. Again, preliminary costs, this has been updated to reflect the addition of 9 and 10 to this. There's a 6-year option there that includes complimentary novels per student. You can think of how significant that savings is when it's complimentary for that many students. But again, business office will negotiate all of this. We feel confident that we can properly financially support this through our budget, but the final numbers go through the business office. And as far as our approval process timeline, we're right here, curriculum committee. Our recommendation is to review this and move it forward to the board for discussion and action on the 8th and the 22nd. And if it does receive approval, we'd like to be able to make that purchase right away so we can get the rest of the materials in and be ready for that training in August. Again, huge shout out to this team. It's a tremendous amount of work to be in this phase of our curriculum cycle. It's a lot of hours, it's designing rubrics, it's diving into lots and lots of resource and lots of reading and lots of discussion. And all of these people showed up to do that work. So big kudos to this team. And again, we think this will meet this goal, that we're going to be able to give them a primary resource that will help them to achieve at high levels. Do you have any questions for us at this time?
I do. Okay, so looking at the test scores, and I should have asked this the last time we talked about this, but they're not great. But I'm also wondering, what's the incentive for them to do well on this? Because when you take it as a junior, or you're trying to get into college and you're getting high scores, when you take it as a freshman, do they care about this?
Yeah. Well, I guess what I can, and Tina, you'd probably be better to answer this question, but I'm going to do my best at it. So, I mean, the thing is, they are standardized, right? And freshmen are freshmen all over the country. And so that's built into your numbers. But you're right, part of this is how we present it to them and get their heads around how important this is. And we are talking about ways at the high school to like make this important to kids and help them understand. I think we just went to an ACT conference, and one of the things that I took away from it was that this test is not just for college. I mean, yes, colleges use it, and that's kind of how we always think of it. But the way it's designed and the way they have tested it is like, these are also skills that will help you be successful in the workforce. So it can be used in both things. We just need to communicate that better with students. So we are in conversation at the high school about how can we make this more meaningful.
Thanks. Yeah, I just think, if you take it and it doesn't matter, like, I'm going to study really hard for this test that I know is going to get my grade, but I take this and I'm like,
Yeah.
well, okay. Because that's what happens when you're 15 too. Then my other not question, just statement. I know we're moving away from the book club, but I do just have to like put out a huge thank you and appreciation for the last couple of years, because I know what all went into that, the work that went in on this team and the teachers and everything. So I just wanted to give a huge thank you. And I know that it's like a little hurting me to not use that, because I know what has gone into it and what everyone has really thought of that. So I just wanted to say thank you.
No, thanks for that, Kelly. We all appreciate that.
From my understanding, aren't you using the novels in this with your complementing the book club novels with the curriculum? Did I misunderstand that?
Potentially for one of the units, yeah. So we'll
For one of
be
the
looking to
units.
do, I believe, 4 units is kind of the initial. We'll see once we get into the actual implementation of how time works out. But yes, for one of them, we were hoping, because right now English 1 does, I believe, 3 book clubs throughout the year. So we'd be getting rid of 2 of them and hopefully keeping 1. And then grade 10 also does roughly 3 to 4. And I don't know if they are planning on implementing any, if they're going to go kind of more complete whole class text.
All right, well, and obviously, we're still using the rubrics and things that, from the book clubs to vet all of these anyway, so it's not all wasted.
There's
But
also
yeah.
some pretty interesting data too around like, and this team was very adamant about we need to use novels, which I really appreciate, because there is a lot of evidence about the idea, especially in our world today with kids being so fragmented in experiences, right? That you have this whole experience together, right? Through that experience of reading a novel. So there is some upsides to that too.
And I want to say, I like that you picked the same one as the lower grade levels too, for the continuity, right? So, yeah,
Any further questions?
it sounds like we're good. Thank you so much for your presentation.
Thank you. Thanks, Brett.
Okay, the next thing up for discussion is the K through 5 music curriculum cycle update. And it looks like Kelly is going to stay up there, and Erin Durla.
And Carly Brenner.
Okay,
So
sorry.
these are some of our wonderful music teachers. We're real excited about this one, and we got to see it in action, and it's amazing. So I'm going to give them the floor, and I'll just jump in at the end.
Sure. I'm going to reiterate these program goals also on behalf of our orchestra friends that are going to be presenting in a moment here. Our 4 national standard tiers: create, perform, respond, and connect. So those are not new, but they wanted to reiterate those as we're moving forward here. How do I, just like that, okay. And so we, as an elementary music team, are in a unique position where there is no 5th grade general music curriculum at all. So we were going through this really, really fast and really deeply this year to know that we have to start next year with this. And so that's one of the conclusions that we came through as the evaluate. We did find a gap in some of our standards regarding favorite musical ideas and student preference that we feel like this resource is going to help us address some. And then there's also a gap in some of the improvising and composing standards, which also, this resource has incredible composing, improvising activities and ways that students can experience that. And then we are in the process of revising the K-12 music program to ensure that everything is aligned with the standards, and we are going to be addressing the assessments as well as we go through this process here. Oh, I was going to mention, yeah, you mentioned we went to Kewaskum, right? To see the, yeah. So we spent a day, full morning in several different classes in Kewaskum Elementaries, 2 different ones, watching this resource in person, and it was just so exciting to get to see the students being really, really engaged with the content and also with their learning. So, thank you.
Okay. Hi again, I'm Carly Brenner from McLean. So our areas to revise for improvement, again, are the K through 5 scope and sequence to integrate 5th grade into the elementary schools. So we are recommending adopting an instructional resource that supports student goal setting, reflection, engagement through very high quality recordings and visuals. And I'll say through the preview, my kids are obsessed with this program already. They love it. We watch videos and they ask me, why are these videos so silly? Like every time we watch one. And they're just so informative and doing a great job explaining really complex ideas to even like kindergartners. They're really enjoying it. All right. So after reviewing all the available resources with our rubric, our recommendation is Quaver and EEMC. We currently have EEMC for concert songs. And the district that we visited, Kewaskum, they also have it as well. And we use this website, just for concert songs. So we can have background recordings and lyrics given to the kids to follow along with. But Quaver stood out to us because it addresses the needs identified during our evaluation while also providing a really comprehensive K through 5 curriculum. And as we prepare for 5th grade, having a complete scope and sequence is especially important. Again, Quaver is highly engaging for the students. It includes built-in differentiation and provides opportunities for students to continue learning outside the classroom. And beyond its overall strengths, we also wanted to ensure that the resource addressed the specific gaps identified during our evaluation. So one of the gaps identified in the evaluate phase was within the creating and composing standards. Quaver addresses this need through a progression of digital tools that allows the students to create, compose, and experiment with music at all their developmentally appropriate levels. So some of the digital tools that we have is Cue Grooves, which is they can start building chords and it loops it and creates really cool songs for them to listen to and share with their friends. The composer shifts how they write the songs to our standard notation, so they can start using our actual music notes, putting them on the staff where they need to go with the rhythms that we use. And then the backbeat is just a lot of fun percussion instruments playing, and they can create some really cool sounds, really cool rhythms. And we can also then play what they've written on our instruments inside the classroom too, if we wanted to with it. This provides students also with very meaningful opportunities to create music and addresses one of the areas identified for improvement. And then another identified area involved the responding standards, particularly with student preference and musical decision making. And Quaver addresses this through listening, through discussion and reflection activities that really encourage the students to analyze the music and explain their thinking using musical evidence and using their vocab. So the students are learning not only what they prefer, but why they prefer it too. And these experiences then will help the students become more thoughtful listeners. They're able to really identify what they're hearing, and it addresses the other area identified in the evaluate phase. And together, these features really help ensure that our curriculum aligned with the national standards while supporting the needs of our growing K through 5 program. And then that brings us to our timeline here.
So as we're here today, what they're asking for now is that this can go forward to public viewing. So we're hoping from June 3rd to the 16th, we would put this out so people can come take a look at it. It's really engaging. I would highly recommend looking at it. And then we'd come back to curriculum committee with the recommendation, if that all goes well. And then on to the Board of Education. The purchase date's a little bit later, 8/1, but it's digital, so I think we'll be okay. So, do you have any questions?
I think it sounds like you guys are really excited about it, and I'm looking forward to seeing it for public viewing.
Does this tool, you said it's a tool because you've identified some gaps in your evaluation process, and so does it replace existing tools that you have, or is it just an addition to what you would be able to offer now?
Good question. Right now, we have two digital tools for our teaching. One is called Music Play, and one is the EEMC, which stands for Essential Elements Music Class that Carly was talking about. We are going to drop, if this goes through, we are going to drop Music Play as a tool. This would replace and build on that other curriculum. So yes, so we would be going from EEMC Music Play this year to EEMC and Quaver.
Questions? Sounds like there's no further questions, so thank you so much for your presentation, and I look forward to seeing it back. Our next item up for discussion is 6 through 12 orchestra curriculum cycle update. And it looks like Ryan Erdman is here along with Kelly Downs.
So you've seen Ryan before. He's going to present to you the recommendation for orchestra. And Jason Cicero is also here, who's one of our orchestra teachers.
All right, thank you. So starting off, we have the same program goals that our elementary team identified, focusing on creating, performing, responding, and connecting, and that is our overarching goal and focus as we look at these resources. So coming out of phase one, we concluded that there are gaps in improvisation and composition standards, just as our K-5 team identified. And we are looking that our revised K-12 music program ensures standard alignments and a guaranteed and viable curriculum across the buildings, grade levels, and programs. And we are looking to continue to implement individualized and differentiated instruction in our ensembles. So example, pull-out lessons, that sort of thing. So our recommendations coming out of phase one, we are looking to adopt a 612 orchestra method book. And in that resource, we are looking for opportunities for student goal setting, guidance and student reflective practices, relevant and high quality recordings and visuals to help students remain engaged and to see themselves in the resource, appropriate supplemental materials in order to build the skills that we need to build to play our instruments, and developmentally appropriate sequencing of content to help foster feelings of success and skill building, introducing the new skills in an appropriate manner so students can feel successful as they play. So coming through that, we identified the resource Habits of a Successful String Musician. So why this one? Currently, as it stands, we do not have the same resource across the three levels. Silverbrook uses Sound Innovations, Badger Middle School uses Essential Elements, and there is no set method book at the high school level. So this resource offers a book one for beginning strings, and as they advance out of that, there is a book two, which kind of covers those middle school years, and then the final book is intended to cover the high school years. It has some built-in supplemental materials for students looking for more skill-building opportunities. As someone who's taught 5th and 6th grade, note reading is always the thing that comes to mind. There are supplements for note reading and developing that note reading skill as a part of the resource, just as an example. And importantly, the materials in the method books are quality and musical. It's not just made up musical excerpts for the sake of learning. It uses from a real repertory of diverse music to give students that ability to see different sorts of things. How does it meet our needs? It offers the differentiated materials as part of it as through the material. And it also, because of the differentiation, gives ample opportunities for goal setting. So if a student is working on option one, they might want to work towards option two. It gives them that ability to set goals through the resource. Plenty of high-quality images and diagrams to show proper hand position and techniques, as well as built-in composition activities tied to the performance goals that are accomplished through the book. So looking at a timeline with our transition with Silverbrook and Badger, we are looking to continue to use Sound Innovations for String Orchestra for this upcoming school year, but would discontinue it starting 27-28. And we would continue to use Essential Elements for String Orchestra as a supplemental material at the Badger level and at the high school level, as well as the repertoire that we offer and use for concert programming and such.
So again, same thing. We're at the point of looking at public viewing. It would follow that same timeline, so we'd put both musical resources out at the same time. And then we'd hope to go to the Board of Education on the 13th and the 27th. Any questions?
Any questions? No. I think it sounds good. I like how it has continuity across the different grade levels, and I look forward to seeing it for the public viewing. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Brian.
Okay, the next item up for discussion is K-12 Social Studies Curriculum Cycle Update. It looks like we have Jack Chamberlain from Badger and Jared Kiesau from the high school.
Hi there, everyone. Go ahead, Jack.
Hi, yeah, that was our introduction. I'm Jack from Badger.
And I'm Jared, assistant principal at the high school.
One more comment.
Yep.
Jack was one of our facilitators all year. He led the social studies team, and on every one of our teams that was meeting throughout the year, we had an administrator. And Jared was the administrator that was assigned to this team, who was also there just to help support throughout the process. They did a lot of extra hours of work, so we thank them for that.
Well, it's a little more than that because Jared met additionally with the K-5 team.
Yes.
Right?
I
So
also-
you're a facilitator too.
Yeah. So we actually had a 512 team at the high school, and then the K4 team had to meet at a separate time due to some other trainings that they had on those days. So, and I'll talk about that in a little bit too.
Great, I'm already off script.
You're okay. Go for it, Jack.
Thank you for having us here today. It's fun to talk about this. We're working through our year one process, which of course started with our vision. And this felt like a pretty successful day when we pulled together understanding of the world and critical thinking and engagement into what we think is a pretty powerful but simple vision statement. It's been a long time since we did something like this, and it's good to start at the beginning. So, thinking critically about the world, that is a past and a present world, and hopefully training people who are informed and engaged. Social studies is complex. If you talk to I remember being asked by my grandpa, what are you doing in history class? It long was reduced to one thing, and social studies is many things. Starting with history, adding political science, geography, and economics, it's already 4 disciplines. Behavioral sciences itself is a bundle of disciplines. So we're responsible for a huge number of topics. Inquiry skills have been added with our last round of standards, and they, of course, transfer to all kinds of subjects. I'm seeing inquiry language embedded in everybody's presentation so far today. So that's something about the modern teaching. It also means our conversations are big, that we also have a lot of specialists, especially when we get to our 9-12 teachers who are burrowing in more to one of these areas than another. And that does create challenges when we come together and think, what do we all have in common? Rather than read this to you, you've probably seen these kinds of delineations of the social studies before, but it's a big topic we're studying. This is kind of how we broke it down. That K4 program section is what Jared was talking about a moment ago, and I'll explain a little bit more. But some of the key strengths we identified in that is especially with our 4th grade teachers, what a good job they're doing with some of the native Wisconsin standards, and also fundamentals of geography in the elementary years, especially in terms of the Americas. 5-8, we're excited about the work Silverbrook has done with Junior Achievement BizTown, mostly tying to econ standards. We've got some Wisconsin forward scores at Silverbrook and Badger that we're excited about. And we've got some great civics foundations in 5th grade and in 8th grade that I think reap some benefits when they get to high school civics courses. Talking about our 9-12 programs is a little bit tricky, as I said, because a lot of people specialize at the high school level, but we're really just talking in this about our 4 universal courses, right?
Required for graduation.
Right. Global studies, government law, econ, and US history. So those are the 4 that are really covered in this presentation.
So what you're seeing here is some data. It's going over the Wisconsin Forward exam that our 4th, 8th, and 10th graders take. What you'll notice at the bottom, on the left-hand side, that bottom table, it's through the years 21 through 25, and you can see grades 4, 8, and 10, and it's the proficiency percentage. How many of our students are proficient on that test in social studies? We want to keep in mind that 80% is the marker of a healthy universal program. If you look over to the right on that large table, it's then broken down into the different disciplines that Jack was talking about. So behavioral sciences all the way to political science and citizenship. And then you can see the grade levels as well. What you'll notice is that 4th and 8th grade, they are moving in a positive direction towards that 80%. When we get down to 10th grade, you'll notice that it is down to the 40s and 50s in percentile. So when you just, I know it's a lot, but when you take that in, you can notice some different things there.
I was pricking up my ears at the incentives questions that you all were asking earlier. You know, because it's a complicated issue. It's also worth noting there's 5 departments, there's 5 categories on the exam, but we're responsible for 6 standards. You know, 6 universes of standards. There's no official inquiry test. So that's an interesting reality that we have to deal with.
And it also, I go back to that, you think about maybe wondering about why these different numbers come out, timing, different variables. There are so many things, but the team was taking a look at those and trying to wonder why these numbers came out the way they did.
We also looked into what our crucial resources are. I think most of the people who presented today are 1 year ahead of us in this process. So this was kind of assembling it and thinking about it. The resources 5, 8 are a little bit more recent, generally speaking, because of a earlier audit that was done in that part. But we're really digging deeply into that K4 section, because those are mainly teacher-generated. That's kind of a misnomer because it's usually based on a former textbook that was used at some time. That also goes over into our high school years where government seems to have the most sources, and US history, but you know, we have some teacher-generated resources that are being used. So there's a lot to examine there.
I can talk a little bit more about the K4 as well, just working with them closely with a separate team. There's some resources, but they were all different across the different schools, right? We have several elementary schools, and it was interesting bringing them together, and they're like, oh my gosh, you still use that? And they quickly noticed that, yeah, there's no primary resource that's used across the elementaries that is aligned, so. The 512 team did a student survey, and these are the results. You can see some of the questions here, and it's delineated by the West Bend School District, and then you can see the 3 schools, Silverbrook, Badger, and the high school that house the 512 grades. You can see the questions on the left-hand side. The one that's highlighted was the area of growth. You can see the others fall into the 80s and 90s. And this one, my previous social studies classes prepared me to succeed in my current social studies course. It was a bit lower, so that was dove into a little bit, but it's definitely an area for growth, building that vertical alignment. So going into what's next, what's needed. So the team did a needs assessment, and they were able to look horizontally at the content and standards. That's all been completed. So if you think of like grade 6, looking at what's taught in grade 6, what's taught in grade 7, 8, and the standards, the team was able to do that. The team does need additional time, though, for a deeper dive into the vertical, which I just alluded to, trying to figure out what aligns in the scope and sequence of the whole K-12 program. The K-4 team that was separate did realize quickly that they needed a new resource, that they want to go into the resource review 2B phase, 5th grade, with the different elementary schools becoming K-5. They were like, hey, let's just go with K-4 because we're going to be in the same building anyways, for that continuity of the whole school, following suit and staying aligned. Questions?
Any questions? I think it definitely makes sense to get some K-5 resources and have, that more continuity across the district. And sounds like a lot of work you guys have been doing here, but I really appreciate the update on that.
Thank you.
This is not a question, but I'm like laughing in my head at I know what I need to do to meet expectations, and they're all at like 96%, and then they all score a 50% on it. Like, they know what they're supposed to do, they just don't do it.
All right. Well, it looks like there's no further questions, so thank you so much for your presentation.
Certainly.
Thank you.
For having us here.
All right. The next item up for discussion is the WIDA English Language Development Standards. And it looks like Michelle Garcia will be joining us at the podium.
Good afternoon, Curriculum Committee members. I'm here to discuss the WIDA English Language Development Standards Framework, which is a proven roadmap that will help us better serve our multilingual learners. I will be asking for your support to have these standards adopted by the board. To start off, WIDA refers to the overarching organization that provides tools and support for instruction, assessments, and standards for English language learners, whom I will be referring to throughout the presentation as multilingual learners. The WIDA framework describes itself as a map that offers clear language expectations as destination points, along with road signs to help us set achievable goals along the way. So what makes WIDA unique is that it doesn't pull students out of their regular coursework in order to learn English in isolation. Instead, it provides a structured approach for teaching English language skills alongside students' core academic subjects like math, science, and social studies. So think of it this way. Our students don't have to choose between learning English and learning their grade level content. With WIDA, they do both simultaneously, which means that they stay on track for graduation while developing the language skills they need to succeed. This framework has been adopted by 41 states and territories, including the state of Wisconsin, serving over 3.5 million multilingual learners nationwide. It is research-based, field-tested, and proven to work. So who exactly does this framework serve in our district? Currently, we have 120 students who are actively developing their English language skills. These students represent 16 different home languages, from Spanish and Mandarin to Pashto and Nepali. But did you know that West Bend School District represents more than 30 languages across our entire district? Our multilingual learners are not an isolated group. They are part of a much larger linguistically diverse community that includes hundreds of families across our schools. What's important to understand is that WIDA views these students' home languages as strengths, not deficits. This framework is built on the principle that these students come to us with valuable prior knowledge, cultural experiences, and linguistic resources that we can build upon. Research shows that when we honor and leverage our students' home languages, they actually learn English faster and achieve higher academic outcomes. So when we implement WIDA, we are not just supporting our 120 students. that are multilingual learners, we are building our district's capacity to serve all of our learners and using academic English at school, both now and in the future. So taking a look at how the framework is structured, it works like a funnel. So starting with the broad conceptual standards at the top and becoming increasingly specific as you move down to daily classroom practice. So on this slide, I've outlined the general framework in the text on the left side of the slide, and I included a science example in the blue funnel on the right. At the very top, we have the WIDA ELD standards. So ELD, again, refers to English Language Development Standards. These are the big picture statements that frame how language and content should be integrated across all subjects. Next, we have key language uses. And there are 4 of these that appear across all grade levels and disciplines: narrate, inform, explain, and argue. Whether students are in a math class, a science lab, or an English classroom, they are using language in these 4 fundamental ways. Moving down that funnel, we get to language expectations. These are the specific goals for what students should be able to do with language in each content area. For example, in science, students might need to explain cause and effect relationships in ecosystems. Then we have language functions. These are the common patterns of language use that help students meet these expectations. Functions might include things like compare and contrast, describe a sequence, or justify a claim with evidence. Finally, at the bottom of the funnel, the most specific level, we have language features. These are the actual linguistic tools that students use: specific vocabulary, sentence structures, verb tenses, transition words, and so on. This is where teachers can provide very targeted support. What makes this framework so powerful is that it connects the what at the top, which are our broad educational goals, to the how at the bottom, the specific language tools that our students need in order to succeed. Each teacher in every subject can use this funnel to make language learning visible and intentional for not just multilingual students, but for all of our learners. So what does this actually look like in practice? Instead of pulling students out of their class in order to learn English in isolation, this approach helps them to learn the language through their regular coursework, making the learning highly relevant. Here's where WIDA really shines in practice. Instead of pulling students out of their math class, for example, to learn vocabulary, WIDA encourages students to learn English by doing their regular coursework. So for example, in a science class that is studying ecosystems, students aren't just going to memorize what the word predator means. They're using that word in context, discussing predator-prey relationships, writing lab reports, creating diagrams, and presenting the findings to their peers. They're learning the specific academic language of science while they are learning the science content itself. So this approach requires strong collaboration between our multilingual specialists and our content area teachers. You see the gears here on the slide. They represent the student, the content teacher, and the language specialist all working together. When these 3 elements are aligned and working in sync, that's where we will see real growth. The beauty of this model is that it keeps students in their grade level content. They are not falling behind in math or science while they're learning English. They're progressing in both simultaneously, which is critical for graduation rates and college readiness. The WIDA framework gives us the proven roadmap to make our district's mission of excellence for all, preparing every student for college readiness and career success, a reality for our 120 multilingual learners. When we implement the WIDA ELD standards with fidelity, our research shows that multilingual learners graduate at higher rates, enroll in college at rates comparable to their English proficient peers, develop critical thinking and communication skills that employers value, and become bilingual, biliterate adults, which is an enormous asset in our global economy. So this isn't about adding a new program or creating a separate track for our certain students. This is ensuring that we deliver on the promise that we've already made to every family in our district, that their children will receive a high-quality education that prepares them for success after graduation. Whether our multilingual learners are choosing the career pathway or the college pathway, having ELD standards in place will ensure that they have the academic language skills and content knowledge in order to succeed. So I'm asking for your support tonight to adopt the WIDA ELD standards framework as our district's official approach to multilingual learner education. This is an investment in 120 students today and in the hundreds of multilingual students that will serve in the years to come. I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have.
I don't have any questions, but I'm delighted to see this. I think it's really important to provide the support for children who don't speak English as their first language. I'm surprised we don't have this already, but I'm super excited about this.
Thank you.
So I was just going to say, I think it's so surprising how many different languages are represented in our community. I never would have thought there would be such a diversity with that. But I think it seems like a great framework, and happy to see it here.
Thank you.
All right, the next thing up for discussion is the 2026-2027 Professional Development Plan. And Kelly Downs will be presenting. Thank you.
So our team has been really hard at work, as you can see by looking at this document, trying to figure out what is the best development for our teachers throughout next year. We have several professional development days, and we will be using those to do the work that you've just seen these teams report on. They will be engaging in their cycle work wherever they are within that cycle, whether they're in evaluate or assess and refine or resource review. We capitalize on this time to have those teams together to be able to do this work. Some main things I'm going to just point out to you that are a little bit different, that are outside of that regular cycle work. The main one is K through 5th grade is going to be engaging in some content training for math. So when we adopted Bridges, there was a lot of work done on Bridges and how to put it into place, which is obviously necessary, and to understand the resource and how to do that. We adopted, or the standards that we have shifted in math in like 2011, I want to say. But many teachers have not been trained in what those shifts are. One of the major shifts in math is, if you think about your own experience, if it was like mine, you learned procedure. The teacher showed you how to do it, and you did it, right? There's many times I didn't understand what this was doing, but I could do it, right? The shifts in math are now, we're going to help you understand concepts deeply and then show you the procedure that can get you there. So it's a nice marrying of that understanding. The thing is, many of our teachers haven't been trained in that shift. So after looking at our data, place value, a number-based 10 is a domain that we are a little bit weak in, and fractions. So, and that's a huge shift in learning away from the way we have learned it. So we are bringing in the Math Institute, and we will be doing K2, we'll be getting some in-depth learning about the models that are used, the progressions that are done throughout the teaching of place value, which includes like addition and subtraction, basically decomposition of numbers that are so critical at that age level. And then the fractions, 3rd through 5th grade will be engaging in that work. That is when fractions are introduced, starting in 3rd grade. And we know that success in fractions is one of the predictors of how successful you'll be actually in like algebra. So that's a really important concept to get down. So we're going to be taking some of our days to train our teachers in that. And then a couple other things to point out. Obviously, our ELA for K-5, they're in year 2 and 3 of implementation. They will have training that will continue with them. Our 6th through 12th grade math is in year 2 of implementation. They're diving now that they know the resource, they're going to be diving into instructional strategies within there. Science is in a really unique, and I'm excited for them to come report to you. They're in Assess and Refine, so they've been digging into their current resources and seeing how they can improve it. And part of theirs is also to bring in professional development. So through their work last year, they were able to identify some areas that we want to know more about this. And one of the things was we want to know more about the ACT and the way those questions are. So we're bringing in some people to help out with that. Additionally, for science, I'm forgetting what else we were bringing in for them. Thank you. Thank you so much. Many of our teachers, while we're using Amplify, we're never trained in Amplify. So we have some training that they're going to come in and do with us for that. And in biology, we have a lot of new teachers, and so we will be able to connect with HMH, and they're bringing in some additional training for those new teachers so they'll know how to use that resource more properly. ACT, yes, yes. They are also doing some work with the ACT questions. For social studies, K through 4th grade at elementary, they're all going to be engaging in that math training, so a lot of their time will be taken up there. And in 5th grade, they're going to be diving more into essential standards and in that cycle work. That is the main work. If you go down to the lower level, we have art. CTE kind of has their own that they're doing there, but art, music, and PE, one of the things that came out of their review is that we need to know more about assessment practices. So we have been talking with the CSAs, and they have a way that they can come in and instruct a little bit more about assessment practices for them. And since they all wanted the same thing, we'll be kind of pulling them together for some of that work. Let's see, ML is going to be engaging in that content training. As you saw with the WIDA standards, it's important that they are involved in our classrooms, so that will help them better to meet the needs of those students in that area. Student Services has theirs laid out below. All of this is very drafty. I mean, it's pretty close to final, but there may be changes on like days, like the ACT trainer can't come into a different day, so we'll be working on that. And of course, I neglected to mention that through the 6th through 10th grade ELA is obviously year 1 for implementation if that is approved. And so we have training laid out for them with Savas, but they will also have time to do unit planning, because that's the number one thing they need time for, to dig into the unit, understand the way it's built, and to plan as a team. Do you have any questions on this?
Any questions? No. I don't have any questions either. I think it looks like a lot of work and a lot laid out here, but looking forward to seeing how it all, finalizes. So,
Okay,
thank you.
thank you.
Okay, then the last item up for discussion is the 6 through 12 science curriculum cycle update. And
What's that?
Kara, gonna make it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Lucas Stocks, teach 8th grade science. Our other person is in a class right now, so she's just coming down to start.
Okay, yeah.
Okay.
Lucas and Kara have been our facilitators throughout this year and have done such a beautiful job leading their teams. They are in Assess and Refine, and I believe I'm talking about this first one, so I can just jump in right away. So this is the first team you've seen that's come through in Assess and Refine. So they have taken everything that they've been doing and dug in really deep and really specifically. So you can see some of the key actions here. They're looking at that student performance and learning outcomes that they've had on assessments, on all the data pieces you're used to seeing. They did 3 years of data and tried to align assessments with those, like how are our kids doing on some of these key ideas and how did it look on an assessment. They've gathered educator feedback on instructional practices and this research and are participating in professional development. So they've identified what they want to learn a little bit more about. And that's what we've carried into the next year. And now here's Kara Petzold, who is our high school representative. And again, these two did such a nice job leading and lots of extra hours. So we want to, again, thank them for that. And with that, I'll turn it over to you.
All right, sorry, I was taking a class upstairs. So our science mission is to empower students every day as they are exploring the world through inquiry, hands-on learning, and the real-world connections. So we believe that all students can succeed in science, and we're committed to creating welcoming and inclusive environments that spark curiosity and foster critical thinking and develop strong problem-solving skills.
Our vision is we really want our students to be able to think critically. We've noticed that that is something our students really, really struggle with, and being able to solve those real-world problems. So our vision is to have our students being 80% proficient on all of the skills that we are teaching in science class. And being science, we get to do lots of fun labs. So that's what we're trying to incorporate more of that.
So our department goals include a lot of these hands-on experiments and activities. So we're looking at critical thinking skills, problem-solving skills, communication skills, data analysis, and content knowledge, knowing that our students are not all going to become scientists, but we want them to be able to make informed decisions, looking at reading in a scientific way, following a scientific method, being able to make logical informed decisions, being able to think and read science as citizens, looking at complex data sets, interpret graphs, and being able to understand the nature of science.
So this year, our goal for our committee was to take a look at the assessments that our students have been doing. We focus mostly just on the summative assessments, so the end of the unit assessments. And we had our teachers give the assessments, and then at our PD days, we dug deep into those assessments. We tied it to which essential standards they were trying to get across to the students, and then we had them dig and look at individual questions and which standards students were either doing really well at or what they were having a problem with. And then from that point, they were able to take that information and start making some of the changes for what they wanted to do next year. Or if their units were tied, so like 8th grade, our units are kind of chunky, it's one and done sort of a thing. But bio or other things like that, what are they going to do for later on in the year?
So throughout our 4 PD days, we looked at 45 different assessments. Some of the major takeaways were just some simple things like using the correct vocabulary throughout. So whether that was from middle school to high school or from biology to chemistry, so that when we were cycling through the same concepts or similar concepts, we were using the same vocabulary, but then we also were able to talk with some math teachers and using the same vocabulary interdisciplinary. We also looked at embedding ACT type style questions, so giving kids year-long practice as they were getting ready for the ACT, or even at the freshman level as they were getting ready for the pre-ACT, giving them some new data sets that they weren't seeing in the curriculum, but using the style of question that they would see on those standardized tests. And then able to use some more formative assessments so that we could find some misconceptions that they were seeing and able to give some reteaching opportunities throughout the units. And then we simply were given some more time that we could see some misunderstanding in the wording of questions. So having these PD days gave us good chunks of time to be able to look at that at a deeper level. We were able to add some labs and activities. For some classes, we were able to add them in yet for this school year, and then for some of them, that was planning done forward for the next school year.
This is an example of what the 8th grade science teachers were doing. There's 2 diagrams here. So the one on the left side was a document that we filled out where it says adjustments. There were questions or guides over on the left side, and then the right side were what our action steps actually were. So as we were going through, we noticed that there were some concepts that our students weren't really understanding when it came time to the assessment. So we took that time and we rebuilt our unit essentially, and so for example, the one that says completed a rock cycle diagram closer to the beginning of the unit. Our students had to learn about the 3 different rock forms, and one of them didn't get covered until really late in the unit, and it was only 2 lessons, but there were 5 questions on the assessment that were tied to that. So we decided to incorporate that earlier into the unit. The one on the right then is the data that we collected. So the we have 3 8th grade teachers. Column E and F were teacher 1, G and H were teacher 2, I and J were teacher 3. This was the same assessment that we gave to all students. Teacher 1 and teacher 3 were about a week ahead of teacher 2. But we were going through all of these changes, and we noticed, teacher 1 and teacher 3, that our kids were having a hard time in some of these questions and other things like that. So we reworded the assessments, we changed how that teacher taught the lessons, and the yellow box is what the results were after we made those changes. So our goal is that we're gonna see more of the 80% on our assessments as we are moving forward into next year.
So some of our professional development recommendations moving forward, we're looking at doing some vertical alignment with some specific skills, specifically in note-taking, scientific writing, and differentiation as our kids move through the science curriculum. We're also looking at some more professional development with ACT questions in terms of the rigor and classroom application using those. Our biology team is fairly new, and so we'd like to get them some training in using our biology curriculum and content, and then using the Amplify 6 through 8. Right now, only a few of our teachers have been actually trained using those resources.
So going into next year, what our next steps are going to be, we're going to be using all the data that we collected this year, and we're going to be comparing it to the data for next year with the changes that we are planning to make to the curriculum going into next year. So we're going to be comparing those, and if we are still finding that after those changes, we're still not meeting those standards, then we will take a look at what needs to change, if it's just something else on our teacher practices, or if it is something with the curriculum as a whole that it's just missing some standards. Questions?
I like that you are getting data, very data-driven. So looking at those three, that experiment that you did where you're seeing where the gaps are and trying to find ways to fill those gaps so that a student can have a more solid learning. And I really like that. I also really like that you're not asking for another tool or another program to buy. So yeah.
No, this has been really powerful for us to be able to have that time to sit down and really look at that data. It's been really beneficial.
All right. Well, thank you so much for your presentation and for the science update. All right. Well, it appears we have reached the end of our agenda. And if there's no other questions or comments, I will go ahead and close the meeting. It's 4:58 p.m. Thank you.